Alright. Hey everybody. Yep, another evening, another bunch of work. And yet again, as always, I am behind on my schedule, so guess we'll just jump straight into it. We've got a 1706 that's come in. Apparently not drawing power, or at least not appropriate amount of power. See, it's a little bit on the dusty side. So we'll plug it in and see what it does actually give us. If I can find my USB. Yeah, definitely Paul is not on the ball tonight. We'll get there, we'll get there. It's that USB-C pack that I have to keep moving around. Alright. Let's see, 5 volts, 40. Okay, 5 volts, 46 milliamp. That's not really a lot, so I'm going to say there's probably a short around one of the CD3215s. And just bring up this job on my job queue. Let's see what are we at, 892. 46 milliamp, 5 volt. Submit. So yeah, I'm going to guess around one of the CD3215s is going to be a shorted cap, one of the 10 microfarad type ones. Now the reason I'm going to go for that is because it is 5 volts, 46 milliamp, and also the fact that this sort of dust tends to be a guilty party in that kind of outcome. I could be wrong, but that's my guess for tonight. So we'll get into it and see whether I'm going to be Mr. Wrong or Mr. Right. Strictly speaking, I've probably got a pretty good chance of being wrong. Ah, this is great. I've got the adhesive for the battery protector has actually grabbed onto the flex. And you want to be pretty careful about that. Those flexes are a little bit easy to damage. So we're not going to rip that out quite yet. We'll use a little bit of heat once the main board is out. This is a self-starting MacBook. The clean did bring, it stayed alive. I've done the backup. So hopefully all is good. My main concern is I don't know how well it's going to stay alive. So it's a bit of a tricky situation. I'll just run it for a couple of days. See how it goes. And hopefully we don't have any more dramas from it. I'm still amazed that that did not die. That was definitely a perfect... if that thing had a dead CPU, you'd look at it and go, yeah, that's entirely reasonable given the location of that corrosion. And it didn't die. Yes, the fans are clogged, everything's clogged in this. This is going to need a nice outdoors dust extraction blowout. Just realised it's been a while since I've actually worked on a 1706. The 1707s I get quite often, but not too often the 1706s for some reason. Patrick Pitts. Got a 15 MacBook Pro, screen 14 works, but takes about halfway through the boot. Yeah, I actually don't know. I presume you've tried to write an EFI PRAM update or reset. I don't know, maybe someone around here knows better. Hey, Mike Sims, good evening to you. Yes, Michael Billman, it did try to commit seppuku. And it missed. It's kind of like trying to... it's basically like trying to shoot arrows at the ground and missing. Yeah, I'm trying not to disturb the dust too much. Is Jim Hook here? Oh yeah, g'day Jim. For those who aren't yet aware, the genuine 8201958 board view has become available. It was just purely coincidental. I was about to fund that one, but someone else put it together, so I didn't need to, which was nice. So. So let's have a look at this. Because previously what we've been supplied is actually the 1598 board, but we now have the genuine one. And it looks quite good. Very happy with how it's appearing. This is actually a very new version of Flexboard View I'm running. It's internal only. But I'm adding a new sort of thing where when you right click on something, it gives you the usual search, but it also starts giving you all the data associated with that pin or the part and things like that. It looks like I've got some adjustment sizes issue there. Basically the reason why I'm doing this is because many times when I'm trying to find faults in a board view, like the file itself, I need to know things like what the outline parameters are, all those sort of stuff. So I'm really doing this for myself, and I figure other people can use it. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice to have the genuine 1958 finally. Bad day medical wise. Sorry to hear that, Jim. Never good to hear that. Right. Okay, we've still got little power switch flex here. This is the one that we have to gently apply some heat to. Try to rip that off, you will regret it. Okay. Didn't see the second speaker connector there, hidden under the dust. Okay. Oh yeah, that needs some real cleaning out. Hey Harperman, how's it going? I gotta come into Townsville sometime soon. Got a couple of jobs I gotta drop off and pick up. I think it's straight to where I think the fault is. Suspecting it's that one. Yeah, that one looks a bit gnarly, hiding in there. Okay, focus issues again. Sir Australia was looking at getting some nuke subs. Interesting that's happening. Yep, that's a shorted cap. You're doing a week off to do maintenance on the house. Oh, okay. What sort of maintenance you got to do on your house? Unfortunately, this is a underfilled cap, so underfilled 3215. So that's going to be a little bit of a nuisance. It's not bad, but a nuisance. Does make it difficult if I want to replace it, so I may choose not to. Oh, I started yet. I do have a bit of greenery, so I'm going to suspect there may be other issues on this board. I hate it how the boards move. Where's my dead weight? Okay, hopefully that should stop it jumping around too much. Yeah, everything's fine here. I've got no drop frames. It's probably upstream from me, nothing much I can do about it anyway. It's not me. It's not me. It's upstream. I can't do anything about it. Jason Vilma levels of flux. Just realised no. And there's Jason right on cue. Damn it, yeah, that's what I was worried about. I'm lifting this pad trace right up here, so I can't do a Jessa Jones here. I have to actually desolder this because I'm lifting up that trace. It's, yeah. Easy, except we've got a part sitting right here under this tab. Jason, I'm starting to wonder if you ever didn't watch my channel. It seems like you're just constantly stalking now. Shite. I'm gonna have to cut that tab. Actually, I might fold it up rather than cut it. I don't need a lot of access, just need a little. It's kind of like when you're doing a iPhone 6S or a 7, well actually mostly a 6S. Funnily enough, the iPhone 7, even though it is actually hidden perhaps more under than the 6S is, I find that the 7 is easier to work on than the 6S for the TriStar. I'm just trying to gently get the end cap of the cap off. I'm probably using the wrong hand orientation here. Got it. Finally. Yeah, I didn't even look to see what board number this is. Check that short's cleared. Okay, we don't have a short anymore, so that's good. Now, that doesn't mean that this board is actually solved. That sort of dusty corrosion does tend to manifest in multiple places, so we're going to have to look around, make sure we don't have any other near-death components. Oh wow, I don't often see this where they've overfilled the parts along the USB-C input. You don't normally see that, or at least I don't. That oscillator, that crystal there is a little bit beaten up, but it's okay. It's only the metal can on the outside that's showing a bit of sort of rust and corrosion on it, but it's just a metal can. That's actually looking alright. I just realised I really should actually keep this on. We need to find out what board this is. I think it's a 239 maybe? No, it's too small for that. I don't know exactly what board I'm dealing with here, but we'll find it. And then I'll check to see what that cap value is. Usually they're ones that I steal from an iPhone 6 with the MB RAM area. So I guess we'll find out soon enough. It's like 10 microfarad and I can't remember the voltage, 6.3 maybe. Oh, I was right, 239. Duh. Okay. I doubted myself, but I was actually correct. Eight two zero. Uh-oh. I lost my instance of flex board view then. Anyway. Nope, you do not. Oh, yes, you do. There we go. CV300. And yeah, 10 microfarad, 6.3. I'm pretty sure you get them on iPhone 6s. And usually around about here. No, it's 15 microfarad. Well. Okay, here we go. Oh, okay, off to the edge slightly. That's fine. I'll go grab one of those. It's one of those parts that I cannot get a decent priced, reasonable supply of from my usual suppliers. So iPhone 6s are my usual supply. Okay, that one there I've got to stop pulling out because that's just the DFU mode one. May have already stolen from that, but we'll see. Travis, I generally run my most current build on here, yes. Alright, so this one here will be 10 microfarad 6.3. Hey Mark, I got your message earlier, but I was just in the middle of heading out, so sorry about that. I'm going to be a bit ludicrous here and use MacBook, goddamn fluff on the tips. MacBook levels of heat on an iPhone. There we go. And those parts come off very quickly. Looks like Jason's run off to go and do real world things. Blimey. It really doesn't want to stay around there, does it? I think some flux will help it. Make it feel like it's got a real home here. It's getting, the whole board's getting ultrasonic anyway. It's perhaps not sitting as perfect as I would like, but quite frankly, because I'm dealing with an underfilled chip here, I don't want to push my luck. I think I should be happy with that result. I'm going to try and tell myself that I'm happy with that result. And hopefully I will be happy with that result, even though it's burning me up inside that it is not sitting perfectly flat. So much psychological anger. Hey, admin media. Okay, let's see if this now gives us 20 volts. Yep, we got 20 volts coming up and 700 milliamps, so this thing is now booting, so that's another one fixed, I hope. I suppose we should boot it just to verify, because the last thing you want to do is put the board through the process of being ultrasonic only to find out that in reality it wasn't any good at all. I do need to get myself a proper shop vacuum cleaner. Yeah, just one of the little handheld ones, something that actually has some suction rather than using my fume hood, because the fume hood is not really designed to handle lint and fluff. I mean, I'm doing it here, but it's not what it's designed for. So I'm better off getting myself I'll probably get myself a Makita vac or something. I'll find something when I go into Bunnings next. Find something that suits what I want to do, how big I want it, how much noise it makes, things like that. I think ideally you want a compact unit that has nozzles on it that you can change, because you want to get some fine pitch nozzle for cleaning up the crevices, and use the compressed air to help blow out as well. You kind of got to use both options. I did a good job. Yeah, Gregory's still using the Falcon BA carbon interior filters, and I've also got the 2 foot tall 8-inch diameter carbon filter. So it's fairly good at sucking up the bad things. That said, I did see here in Australia that Mechatronics now has a reasonably priced dedicated fume extractor, so I may consider getting one of them. I think it works out around about $600 or $700 by the time you buy the filters for it. It's an option worth looking at. The only thing is that I really do like the fact that with this fume extractor that I've got, I don't have to move the nozzle anywhere. It's just like a great big, well, I've only got a 6-inch nozzle here, but it actually is an 8-inch intake. I'm just simply shrinking it down because I couldn't find a 8-inch to 8-inch elbow. I suppose I could just make one up, but you know, going down from 8 inches to 6 inches isn't too bad. It's not as severe as if you've got to go from 6 to 4. And most of the fume extractors that I see, they're all only just 2-inch diameter, which is pretty pathetic. When I last changed filters, before I remembered when I last changed filters, usually I try to change the big one every year. But the BA ones, the interior filters, are probably every 3 months. Yeah, it's just I could dump it outside, I do agree, and you are correct, that would be the cheapest. And I think overall it's probably less impacting on the environment too, because you don't have to put the resources and energy into building the carbon filter, because making activated carbon is not exactly energy cheap. It does take a fair bit to make activated carbon. I just feel a little bit dirty dumping it out the window. Just a little bit dirty. Oh, the other problem, now I remember what the other problem was. In summer, you don't want to be dumping all your cold air outside. Knew there was another factor involved more than just environmentalism. Yeah, Gregor, they're probably just black granules that they're saying is activated carbon, which is why I've got the great big one, which it definitely does work. Uh, but the interior ones, they're HEPA filters, so it does the fine particle filtration for me. Okay, let's see if this boots. Let's put our weak privacy filter on there. Hey Eric. Yeah, for me the biggest thing is just the fact that if I pump out like a decent fume filter, this one here will move 1,000 cubic meters an hour, I think it is. My air conditioner can't keep up with that. Sorry, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, okay, so we've got an Apple logo, that's good. Okay, looking good. Shut that down, put it through the ultrasonic, and another one fixed. I'll just mark on the job sheet that I guessed correctly. CV300. CV300 shorted, replaced. Yeah, well, I'm happy to take the easy fixes in all honesty. You don't get them often enough. So when you do get them, you gotta cherish them. Because there's always a dozen rabbit holes waiting for you on the other side of a easy fix. So don't don't think that the easy fix receiver gets them all the time. Let's take this out, get the ultrasonic is hot. I'm not going to run it while we're on stream, but I will run it after the stream since it's early enough. And I've only got a 1466 at least to worry about next. Uh-oh, that came off a little bit funky. I'm just using the pen because I like the smell of it, and it is actually a nice smelling pen. I don't know what the active ingredient is in it, that in terms of the odor, but certainly much better smelling than most of the pens I get. Hey Mark, welcome, congratulations on your first typing here. Long time viewer, eh? I do wonder how many people are like that. I guess some people have that happiness to sit back and watch. Others, like myself, have a bad tendency to want to stick my nose into whatever's going on and try and be a backseat repair person. Or an antagonizer. If it's Lewis that I'm watching, then I'll do my best to be a troll. It's the right thing to do. Alright, that's prepped to go into the ultrasonic. This is, I see Lewis had a disheartening event in Boston last night. Erica's stalker. What? Oh, okay. I did not know that Erica had a stalker, and I certainly didn't know that. I suppose that's to be expected, but it's certainly not accepted. Very sorry to hear that. Hopefully they dealt with it. I imagine it's very hard to manage stalkers in the fact that certainly for the first couple of events, the police won't do much about it because they're like, well, you know, it could just be an eager person as opposed to a stalker person. But yeah, that's not good at all. That's not good at all. No stalkers in regional Queensland. Don't believe it. I have had people actually drive all the way out here to say hello. And I appreciate that. I wouldn't call them stalkers, but yeah, I appreciate the effort they put into that. But it is very strange when people turn up. And as I said, I don't want to put people off or anything like that, but I'm an extremely solitary person when it comes to social. So it does kind of put me on the back foot and makes me perhaps come across a little bit offstandish and hostile and short. Yeah, I'll just sort of very quickly terminate the conversation and head back inside and lock the gates. Yes, Mark, I think you'll have to cancel that flight. Not least, of course, because of COVID. So Lewis had a stern talking lease to the guy, and this person has had other restraining orders against him. Wow, okay. Well, right. So that's more severe than the guy that Lewis equipped with the Dremel one night in the workshop. That was crazy, that was. Yeah, Jimbo, and I wonder if it's a matter of grades between fan versus stalker. Let's see, I'm going to have to flip to top side view here. Sorry, you're going to have to look at my face while I deal with this one, because I've got to get the bottom panel off and it's got customer information on it. And while I generally do a pretty dodgy job, funny thing is, with stalkers, when they've find all your details and such, in many ways they are disappointed when you're not impressed or praise them for their ability to have deduced or found that information. So they come up and they say, I know where you live and I've got everything you want. And they're expecting you to go, oh, that's fantastic. How'd you work that out? Wow, that's brilliant. I'm really glad that you put that effort into it. And it's not the reality that we live in. Went door to door looking. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. And the worst thing is, what can you really do about these people? You can only really retrospectively do something. You can't do anything too preventative. Alright, let's go to the overhead. Oh good, though, we'll be filing a police report. Even if nothing actually happens directly with the police report, at least it will be lodged, and therefore if anything else comes up, it just adds to the situation, the case against the person. Let's see, new MagSafe board, no fan spin, USB chipmunk shows power but no CPU activity, and this is a 3437. Okay, so it's... alright. We've got a bit of liquid junk on here. If it was a 165 I would have said it's probably doomed, but 3437, it has a chance. 820. Disconnect the battery. Take the data out. When it comes to me meeting people, the way that it will usually work with me is if I am going to someone's shop or something like that and I visit and I drop in and say hello, that works because I'm in control of the situation and I can exit if I need to. It kind of makes me sound like I'm a complete recluse, but I'm not really. I used to socialize quite a lot, but I think you get to a point sometimes where you've just simply had too many issues in public with people being too clingy and you can't escape scenarios, and it leaves you feeling extremely uncomfortable and distressed for days or weeks afterwards, that you eventually sort of go, alright, well, I'm going to strategize to make sure I can't get into those situations anymore, because I can't depend on people to be aware of when they're asking too much or even to respect my wishes. So you have to basically take control of the situation and make sure you don't get yourself into that spot. I mean, every now and then you still get caught out, but typically, yeah, if you can go visit someone's shop or something like that, have your own car, have your own transport, all those sort of things, maintain your independence, ability to move on whim, and then you find you can be a little more social. Not being physically able to run, yeah, I can imagine, yeah. Yeah, Hypermoncy, I came in and visited you, so... And I caught you guys off guard, so you wouldn't be prepared with all the traps and everything for me. Okay, this thing's had a bit of a knock, and the alignment's out on the chassis. Okay, let's see what happens when we plug some power into this. Kind of helps if I turn on the power supply output. Still nothing. That's because I'm running at half a volt. It obviously memorized my last memory setting. Alright, third time's the charm. Green light. No fan spin, 100 milliamps. Alright, this is a new one. Not the sort of characteristic I'm used to, so 100 milliamps, wiggling a little bit, green light, and it's gone to orange light. MagSafe and 100 milliamps. Add note, 100 milliamp, MagSafe green, orange. Let's get this thing apart. I'm just going to take it straight out of the chassis. There's no point trying to do any further diagnosis with it in it. At least the 1466s are fairly trivial to get out in a hurry. This is James telling a story. Never been on an airplane. Oh wow, James. Okay, well I guess, you know, not everybody encounters those scenarios. How old are you, James? I know some people from this town who have never left the town. They've never been to Townsville, and it's just an hour down the road. Some people just don't have that compulsion. Well, 100 milliamps, it's a little weird. I'm obviously getting 342. I'm getting MagSafe, so SMC at least partially is coming up. I gotta admit, I'm going to take the visual cheat route and actually look at the board rather than measuring anything. Okay, these 8mm ones are quite loose, so this machine has definitely taken a hit. No blatant corrosion marks on there. Ah, I forgot to take the little rubber off. Erica started 30 minutes ago regardless of... Oh man, I don't have the hearing ability to be able to concurrently watch that stream and do this. Oh, okay, this is a dreaded 639 FRU board. In other words, this has been damaged in the past, most likely. Gone back to Apple's repair agent, whoever that may be. It's probably Lewis. And been fixed up and sent back out. Hey, Paul Marrow. Okay. There, if you see these 639 FRU stickers, it's almost looks like it's actually been back twice. Okay, so we've got 1.3. Oh man, this is almost not worth me fixing. Okay, so we got a RAM strapping resistor failure, 2 places. That looks like bug damage. Oh, what the freaking heck. This is why I don't know where the 100 milliamp is coming from, because this is not damage I'm normally used to seeing. Nah. A little bit of damage around the CPU VREG controller. It's not too bad. SMC amazingly seems okay. There's a little bit of corrosion there on that track pad. That pad there might have broken through, but I don't think so. But yeah, this is definitely Bug Hotel, this one. Yeah, a lot of bugs have been in here. This is all bug pee that's causing it. So it froths up like that. It's not your normal splashed in liquid corrosion. What is under this? I need the extractor on. Paul Marrow, got my new Starlink going. Cool. Seems to be good. 290 megabyte. Wow. That's actually really good. That would probably make me change over. Because latency is not a big issue with me. I don't game. Alright, that was just puke. So I'm going to say this is Bug University or Bug Campus, and this is where the fraternity party was, and they all puked up there. This is not a pretty board. And given that it's a low-end spec, I'm almost inclined not to fix it, but because I am doing this for entertainment, I'm going to do it. But yeah, that's definitely roaming bugs throwing up. Latency is around 40. Wow, that's actually pretty good, really. I think even my latency here is about that. Certainly no better, so that's really good. Definitely consider changing in that case, because my internet's been nerfed now. They've cut me down to 20 megabyte up, megabit rather up. Yeah, Arnold, there's green bits everywhere, buddy. I've just got to tackle what I can at the time and come back and check again. I'm seeing it. There's just lots of it, that's all. Alright, we'll tackle the resistor packs first. For those who aren't sure what you're looking at, these clusters with 8 legs on them and blackness on them, they are basically just a bunch of... They literally are just resistors all packed together. And we do that because often when you're designing things, you have a case where you need a whole bunch of lines pulled up or something like that, and you want the same value. So they're all probably, I don't know, 10k or something like that. And so you just put them down because you only got to put one part down rather than having to do individual parts. It's a space saver and it's a time saver. Assuming that you can route your lines, your traces there. I have used them occasionally in some of my designs to try and get a little more space, or maybe make things a little cheaper. But in the end, I usually found for the level that I was working on, discretes were cheaper in the end and easier to route. Oh, okay, Paul. Oh. I mean, I could handle delays and things like that. But dropouts, actual disconnects, that could be a problem. I guess that's the thing, are they disconnecting or is it actually just lagging, like temporary lag? So this could be a little bit of a problem. This one's not so bad. That one we won't have any trouble with. This one here looks like it probably needs some pad reconstruction. Drop for a few seconds. Okay, so it's sort of like halfway between. YouTube probably will cope with that. You just we'll probably have to put a high latency option on, but it should cope with that. Alright, looks like our pads are intact, thank goodness. So we will be able to put a new one on there with no drama. Likewise that one. Fairly strong on the absorbing of heat in this area, so I'm going to give it some assistance just so I can get the solder down and the flux to do some work. That's good. Don't want to rub too hard, you don't want those traces to go bye-bye. I'm not sure what's going on with this one up here. I'll have to dig into the schematic and see where that's heading. Alright. Get ourselves a pair of resistor networks and replace those ones. So I have to slice the adhesive off this as well. They're probably all the same, but I do kind of want to match them up. I didn't go to college, I went to university. I was there for about 4.5 years, majoring in engineering and science. The engineering side was electronics. The science side was computers. So computer science, at least back then, that's all predominantly, it's basically just applied math. And the electronics engineering is mostly microcontroller related, or yeah, basically computer systems. And what am I doing with my life? Certainly not using those resources much. Oh well, at least I didn't pay too much for my tertiary education. It was probably about $12,000, I think, which is pretty good for 1990. I was a bit disappointed, I will admit, to see that computer science in terms of purity, kind of went out the door for a while there. It started just becoming more of a practical course, as in, this is how we're going to program with this language. They sort of diverged away from the math side of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the greatest fan of pure math type things. I do like my practical when it comes to computers, but university tends to be one of the few times, or the few times where you can learn something like the theoretical side of it, because once you step out into the work field, you're primarily going to be driven by the practical side of things. What DB system have you got installed at the the office, or the corporation, the stuff like that. You're not going to spend much time working on the which memory paging algorithm am I going to be using here, and things like that. So yeah, it's an opportunity to be able to dive in to the side of the industry that you don't really get the chance to when you're working in the field. And certainly, it's 20. I was going to say it's 20 years on. It's 30 years on, and I still, to this day, use a lot of what was learned during that course, even when I'm doing coding. And when it comes to designing electronics for things, I do use my stuff a little bit, perhaps not as much as the coding side of it. Okay, I'm not happy with this pad here. It's got a little bit too much of that reddish orange look on it. Well, Miles, I wouldn't worry about it too much, to be honest, because I think it's not like when you didn't complete the course that you didn't learn things. You still have all that knowledge that you did learn. It didn't get taken away from you. It's with you, and you can still continue to expand on it beyond that. For the most part, getting that piece of paper really just simply says, I finished the job, sort of thing. It didn't really accurately detail that you know what you're doing. It's more a case of, I finished the course. I mean, a little bit different if you're going for a PhD. That's fine, that makes sense then. That does demonstrate that you do have knowledge and you understand that knowledge. Okay, Paul Mara, enjoy your sleep. Something I should one day hope to have. Okay, I really need to find out where this resistor goes, because that test pad is messed up pretty good. Calculus kicked your ass. Calculus kicks most of our asses, particularly when you go, even if you're doing Math 2 or Calculus at high school, year 12, when you go to university, the calculus is just like, well, somehow you miss this whopping great big gap of skill set that you need to be able to cope with university level freshman calculus. It's like, it's a huge jump and it's very painful. And I think what makes it harder is that a lot of it is really, these are the tricks for solving most of the calculus problems that you're going to encounter day by day. And unless you're actually doing that on a daily basis, actually using that calculus, it's going to it just falls straight out of your head. So I would not beat yourself up over that one bit. So long as you have the ability to, when the time comes, to go back to the book and dig it up and work out what you're trying to do. Yeah, at least you've got the index, so to speak, of the things you need to do or use to solve your problems. Alright, I've got to bring up the 3437 board here. Now, I think there's people who leave university early for whatever reasons. I think they get a little bit of a bad rap. But I think it's important that you realize that you still do carry that knowledge, and if you are the right kind of person, then that knowledge is pretty much all you need. You don't need that certificate. If you know what you're doing and you can apply that knowledge, then you're probably better off than most of the people who graduate. Okay. Second chip edge, third party, and second chip edge. This is not helping me, Paul. Alright, here we go. I don't know about today, but mine was 4 years. Computer science was 3. And when you overlap them, because there were a lot of common subjects, then you can get away with it quicker. Alright, so that particular test... Oh, you can't see it. That test pad, yeah, it's... so it's either CPU or under here. So, yeah, we've got to make sure we've got continuity on that. Well, one way I can find out if I've got continuity is to take the resistor off and see... take the resistor off and see if I have actually any value other than open line on there, or over limit rather. It's a quick test and means I don't have to dig in here too much. So we just move the resistor like that. Diode mode. Hey Steve K, no, I deliberately kept you out, buddy. Can't have you smart talking people around here. Okay, so we've got 0.29, that sounds like a proper value to me, so I think we're good. It makes sense that people do the dual discipline because most of the time you're doing common subjects anyways. And you really have no life when you're at university, so you may as well take that time to have really no life. Except for all the wild partying in the dorms. Right, so that's one minor pair of problems we've solved from the bug poop. And we've got plenty more to go. I keep meaning to... look at this trash. I keep meaning to set up a mailing list to let people know that I'm about to go online. I figured that might be more effective than YouTube. But it's not a guarantee, because Google may decide that I can't spam that many people at once. So this is a real train wreck. I'm going to check to see that pads are like. Make sure they've got some integrity, they're not just crumbling away. Some are getting a bit close, like this one. Yeah, Jim, that's kind of my fear. You see, I don't know if these are strictly just test pads or whether they have vias under them. Needs to say, I'm just going to cut them back, try and get rid of any corrosion sitting on them. That's some pretty ugly stuff there. This is wake up the morning after the nightclub ugly. Wow, that's completely gone. That trace is just... doesn't even exist anymore. I'm really gonna hope that was just a test pad. YouTube is jealous of me, I wish. Yeah, archaeological dig site's about right. Gotta use the same sort of tools as well, and at about the same pace. Okay, here we go. So, the sticker has no business being here. So we're going to do a bit of a moderate wipeout. A lot of these parts are damaged to the point where you may as well just get rid of them outright. How to fix laptop QR codes. No, I wish. Funnily enough, they're not actually QR codes, they're data logic, data something codes. I know you weren't actually saying they were absolutely QR codes, you were just referring to the fact that they're similar to... Oh, damn, that's hot. I was just sort of using the opportunity to make a observation. I always forget the name of what they are. It's like data logic, data bit, or something like that. How do you remember where all the components go? Fortunately, we have the donor boards, and so when you take it from the donor board of the same type, the donor board basically tells you where to go. And I can tell which ones I've removed from the solder type. Factory no stuff solder type looks like this. Yeah, it's a little bit off. It's not very bright, and yeah, it's fairly consistent. Whereas removed type ones, see, they've got a greater brightness to them, like there. That one there, you can tell is a factory. Now I'm scraping this back because you can see the blackened or the darkened edging along that flood fill. That means it's corroded. If you don't get rid of that, it will just continue to creep through. I mean, it may be slow, but it will still creep. I think a lot of bugs had a party on this one. A very serious party. The schematics do help, or the board view certainly helps. They're not as trustworthy as another board view though, as another donor board. Been plenty of times where the board view and the schematics disagree with what's on the board. But certainly they help. Okay, so I just noticed we've got 2 more points of corrosion along those data traces there. See this? See how it's dark along there? So there's probably corrosion underneath that. Yep, there we go. We won't have to do much with that, but we do need to get it back to bright copper, and then we'll just run some solder over that. And there's another defect up here. But that's the sort of thing that you can fix the board up, and then 3 months later the board stops working because of that. I do occasionally fix iPhones. Depends on the situation. I mostly stick to signature faults, and if it's looking like it's a complicated thing, I'll hand it off to someone who knows better. Yep, more corrosion. Hey, Micromage. Well, Tom, this one didn't function. Unlike last night's impressive board, this one legitimately took a knee and bowed out. This was only giving us 100 milliamps, and that was it. I'm not being aggressive on those traces, it's just that the coating on it is already damaged by that corrosion. So I'm just simply cutting away the damaged areas. Like up here, around this, there we go, see? They will just generally lift off. Tom, generally it won't get between the fiberglass and the copper at first approach. What it generally does is just gets between the conformal coat and the copper, and then it'll eat its way down towards the fiberglass. You don't very often get it where it will slip between the glass and the copper and lift up the track. That doesn't really seem to happen. At least not often that I've seen. I can't think of any particular moment. Right, I think it's time for me to try to put some parts back. Just notice I'm missing a cap here, and that is because I've stolen it for other jobs. If you can work moderately quickly, you can manage to keep both boards warm enough that you don't need to have too much heat to transfer the parts and get them to stick down. I mean, you will have to, at the end of it, do a proper reflow overall, make sure everything sits down, but at least while doing the initial transfer, a bit of a snappy back and forth. Stealing flux from other areas of the board. Okay, we've got to get the big caps now. I'll just take this one here, they're the same value. And a bit of excess solder, but we can clean that up. It almost looks like a ball popped out, but it didn't really. Alright, let's see. I need to... I think I've got a resistor up here I've got to get. Yep, there it is. Hey Lexi, good to see you. Alright, so that's that section, I think. There may be other damage there we haven't spotted yet, but time for us to move on to the next area of the party pukers. Okay, so this bit here, I'm really hoping this wasn't too critical. I forget the purpose of those two resistors. I'm worried it's a divider. Pardon me. Okay, skip select. It's not too bad. What do you enable? Okay, so yeah, hopefully it shouldn't be too much trouble, because basically we've just got an enable facility and a skip select facility, so hopefully nothing like... I was worried it was going to be a voltage divider, the feedback sense. Because if it was that, then you can really mess up everything, because if the feedback sense goes out of whack, then it tries to adjust the output voltage to what it really shouldn't be. Yeah. Might just remove them outright. Bit of crustiness on that one. Yeah, one of those pads is not like the other. Ah! There's a micro pencil on the floor. So we need to go in and try to make it feel like it's part of the family. And I noticed that the test pad inline is a bit corroded. Fortunately not too bad. It is one of the things that you see on these boards with these inline test pads. I'm not a fan of them, on the basis of the fact that they are exposed points and they are inclined to corroding, and if they do corrode, they take out your trace. You know, they break the continuity of it. I mean, I understand why they've done it, it's convenient, and they're obviously not designing this thing to be IP66 certified or whatever it is. So they go, well, there's no point really in not using the test pads like this, and I mean it saves room, but like I said, it does hold the risk of exposing the trace in these scenarios. Nuts and proud, our kitten is clawing the screen as something moves. It's cute when kitty cats do that. Okay, so we're going to take those two resistors and use them for ourselves. Looks like I've been doing some rework here in the past too. You see my traces there and hack jobs. Clearly this board did not make it. Let us hope that this one does. The right to repair to work properly, there has to be state and federal laws, and then you have to have the judicial system enforce them. Good luck with that, eh? And the thing is, the company's doing their best to bypass it. They know that they've got all the time in the world, really. Because if they decide to push something that blocks you having access, then they know it's going to be 5 or 6 years, and it's going to be long after it's relevant for you to make money before you manage to get access to that information again. They know it. Just put junk all over me. Use a quick bit of 80-20 there, and then I'll follow up with some flux. Actually, I'll follow up with 100%. There we go. I'll evaporate off. Tom George, you got a Pies fan in the family. Something just landed in my hair. Probably a brain eater, but I'm just going to ignore it. They'll starve. Okay, we've got something under the Wi-Fi. What the hell is that? No idea. That cap doesn't look too crash hot, so I might replace that. Oh. I think what they'll probably do is like what they've done with the M1, which funnily enough actually serves our purpose better. Like with the M1 boards, they've gone along and they've created the monolith that basically integrates the CPU, the controller, I think, and the memory all into that one block. But it serves to our purpose better because it removes the stuff that we generally have a very hard time repairing, namely CPU replacements and things like that. It puts it all into a solid block, so if that goes, then fine, it's gone. But it leaves all the other stuff that we are actually able to repair, things like power circuitry and sensors and things like that, in a on the rest of the board. And I think the M1s are actually going to be easier for us to repair as soon as I start getting some. But from what I've looked at on the layout and the schematics and all that, I think they're going to be easier than the boards of the last few years. Because things like T2 have just been a nightmare. Hey, Infomedia. Yeah, the T2 is integrated now, so that's the whole thing. So right now, your T2 gets hit by something, it's game over almost. Whereas if it's integrated into there, it's a lot safer than it is floating around on the board like it is now. Well, I shouldn't say now, I mean like it is on these earlier boards. So they've actually done us a favour, whether they intended to or not. Parts will come available, but that's the other thing, is that a lot of the power management and sensor parts we already can get in many places. I mean, sure, things like the ISL 9240s took a while. But in terms of the MOSFETs, the resistors, the caps, all that sort of stuff, we can get those. Okay, you can see there is an expanding ring of corrosion there. Hey, Pianov. Thing is, we'll still be able to get them, Pianov, donor boards or otherwise. And we can still replace them. We can still get them. I'm just happier to see the T2 and everything like that integrated more tightly into the monolith. And that way it keeps it out of the way of, out of harm's way a lot more. So yeah, I'm happier with the M1 design than I am with the earlier Intel boards. I think also there is a bit of a problem now in the industry where we're expecting board views and parts to become available within less than 12 months of the devices coming out. Whereas if you think back to 6 years ago or so, we weren't expecting that sort of thing until 2 years or so after the boards, after the machines came out. So we've become a little bit impatient now. Like we're expecting ISL 9240s in a hurry, but really we probably couldn't get half those parts originally for a couple of years anyway. Yeah, just as an example. To be fair, we do get a lot of people coming to us saying, hey, I've just got this new MacBook, I've drowned it, can you fix it? So it's an awareness of the fact that boards can be repaired. It drives the customers a little more to us, and perhaps a little earlier than what we are prepared for. And I think that's also compounded by the fact that because these machines do not have removable storage, they can't just go to Apple and say, I need a new main board. It's like Apple says, well, that's it, it's the end of your data and everything. Whereas previously you go, alright, fine, put a new main board in, swap your drive over, and away you go. So, yeah, a couple of compounding factors there. Steve, there's always going to be glue components that we need to fix, and that's the point. I mean, you think about it, 50 years ago, this voltage regulator would have been a fairly sized, module. And people would be saying, oh, when that voltage regulator, everything's going to be in that, you can't replace the individual valves or the transistors in that. But the thing is, as you shrink parts into a monolith, by the nature of the way we design things, you're going to have more parts on the outside, and so it's just this constant zooming shrink process, down, down, down. But you're always going to have your support parts on the outside. You can't change that too easily. I don't know which part I'm trying to get here. Okay, the two middlies. We don't care about the individual transistors and chips anymore but I know there were people who used to whine about that and say, how are we supposed to repair that if something goes wrong with the chip? It's just increasing multiple things in the same chip is nice if you don't drive the reliability down by a lot at the same time. Usually, by the nature of it, it should increase reliability, usually. unless you have a particularly dodgy build or something like that. But as a trend, the more you integrate things, the more reliability should improve. Should. You're always going to find anecdotal cases to say otherwise, but the overall trend seems to be in that direction. When you think about how many millions of transistors are in a CPU or anything like that, you don't very often have CPU failures, relatively speaking, compared to the number of transistors that are in them. So yeah, you're going to get some duds, but overall it should see a general improvement per number of transistors. It's a bit like with data storage as well. I've got an 8 terabyte drive, and it doesn't fail anywhere near as much as my old ST225 used to. Man, this is a serious chunder board. Throwaway symptomatic problem. If the whole device is a monolith, then yeah, I go with that. But if it's just simply we're integrating more components into a denser area, but we still have multiple components and they are available one way or another to be replaced, then I think it isn't really an issue. I mean, if you think of all the parts that are on a say 1950s TV, it's probably less parts than what's in this. There aren't too many true monolith bits of electronics around. Oh man, that is a bad bit of corrosion there. Those, what do you call it? Monolith memory sticks, they are torturous little bastards. I hate it when you get a memory stick that you think is going to be a normal chip-on circuit board and with a controller. You break it open and you find out it's 90% empty space and this damn monolith just sitting there looking at you, laughing at you because it's like, I got your data, buddy, tough luck. I'm like, no. Well, pin off, yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. There will be events that will make you feel like it's going in the wrong direction, but overall it's going in the right direction. I mean, let's take LCD panels. When LCDs first came out, like I was one of an early adopters of LCD panels way back in, I think it was 2000 or so, and I bought a pair of LG 1024 768 panels. And back then, I think the pixel policy was like, 3 dud pixels you had to put up with before you could send it back. And that was only, not even 1 million pixels. Now we've got 4K TVs and there's not a dead pixel among them. So that's what I mean by, as we increase the density, we tend to actually improve the processors. And so overall, we do tend to do better in terms of reliability. Now, of course, we do also like to heap a hell of a lot more functionality into things, and it's through the extra functionalities that perhaps we experience more possible points of failure, like cars, for instance, when they've got infotainment systems and whatever. Yeah, they can sort of cause issues. But, yeah, my personal... Of course, I'm just talking my personal belief, but my personal belief is that we are overall improving in quality, reliability, and I'm not worried about everything turning into a single block monolith that we can't do anything with. I just feel like any time that we have the opportunity in design to reduce complex layouts down to a single block, so we have a tendency then to go, okay, that's great, that's one block of feature all sorted out into a single block. I can now add all the other things I want to add on in my great new design. I do that myself with designs. Like I have, this is a poor example, but with a temperature controller system for an oven, you can now buy a transformer. It looks like a transformer, but it's a complete AC DC switch mode converter and everything inside, and it's just a little block and just stick it on your board, and it makes things a lot easier, and you just expand a further bigger design out of that. Anyway, I think we're at the point where we can test this board. Hey Rose Electronics, good evening to you. So we've got to be careful not to mix up anecdotal events with actual trends. This is quite the train wreck, and I kind of feel like I might have missed something, but I guess we'll see. We'll see if it even boots or even does something better than 100 milliamps. I remember people complaining about computers becoming unserviceable monoliths way back in like the late 90s. And we're nowhere close. In fact, we've sort of diverged even further away from that risk than we ever have. Things changed over to surface mount. People are like, oh my god, we're never going to be able to service that. And here we are, we're servicing it. It's understandable fear, but it generally doesn't seem to pan out as reality. On the other hand, what is a reality is that I have this constant problem of misplacing my stuff. That's a real problem. That's a problem I need to solve. There we go. There should have been one of these set up here that already has the crossflex on it, but oh well. Clearly not tonight. Okay. Flashbang test. Well, we've got power up now. We've got 600 milliamp. That's actually proper. So let's stick the fan on it. This is a 3437, so the fan has a role to play in letting us know its behavior. Depending on the sequence of the fan, we can see whether we're going somewhere or not. Okay, fan spin. It's spinning a bit too long. Yeah, that's spinning too long. Let's see if it comes back up now. It's doing the proper sequence there, and we've got a green light. Fixed, at least initially. No guarantee this is going to survive after the ultrasonic. But at least it's a start. Which is quite something considering it's not really... it's been serviced by Apple twice. By the looks of it, it's a very low end 3437. It almost wasn't worth me touching that, but like I said, I do like to do it because it's always practice is practice. Keep the motor skills up and running. We'll take the heatsink off this, and then I'll throw it into the ultrasonic cleaner, and that's going to be it for tonight. It's already 1 o'clock in the morning, so I am definitely overdue. Personal PC runs a 9600K. Oh, you lucky blighter. I'm still sitting here on an i5 8400. And I didn't even want to buy this one. It was an accidental purchase because of another customer, and I had to eat the cost. And that person ended up getting a 6th gen instead, so they could run Windows 7 without any dramas. Yeah, that was my bad. My fault. Scrape this trash off. Yeah. Alright. Alrighty. Okay, well, thanks all for watching. I'll see you next time. I've got more machines in the queue. I'm actually getting a little bit behind, so we should have some more videos over the weekend. Till next time, you'll take care. Appreciate it, and I'll see you later.